It's time for another edition of Coach's Corner with women's basketball coach Matilda Mossman. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Coach's Corner with head coach Matilda Mossman, University of Tulsa women's basketball. And coach, you just had the one game over the weekend, but it was a good one and a tough one down the stretch. Unfortunately, you lost to UCF 47-44.
We knew coming in it was going to be a defensive battle. UCF wasn't scoring that many points, but they weren't giving up a lot of points. And they're down to about 7 or 8 players with injury, and we only ended up playing about 7 players, mainly because of their full court pressure, and it was about who we felt could handle that pressure and get us into a half-court offense. So, the score ends up being 47-43, 44, and we had chances at the end, but when you go 0 for 10 after you take the lead in the fourth quarter, that makes it really tough.
Well, Shug Dixon gave you a boost, of course. She played very well in the contest, but she gave you the boost at the end of a couple of your quarters. It gave you the lead at the end of one quarter with a shot at the buzzer, and then later on hit a buzzer beater.
Yeah, I hit a 3 at the end of, I think, the first quarter, and then hit a 2 at the end of maybe the third quarter. She's really the only thing we had going offensively. For whatever reason, we had guys that just didn't shoot the ball well. I mean, we go 1 for 9, 2 for 9, 1 for 7. That was 3 of our starters. And so when that happens to you and you're not playing other people for them to step up, it makes it really hard. But I was pleased with our how hard we played. I was pleased with how we guarded and really how we rebounded with them. I mean, we ended up having one more rebound. We held them to 9 offensive rebounds, and they were averaging about 13 offensive rebounds a game. Our turnovers really, we had 10 in the first half and only had 5 in that second half. And our turnovers came after we had beaten their pressure. We had 2 or 3 walks, which is just fundamental things. You've got to come to a jump stop and then pivot. You can't go 1, 2 and then take another step. We had a couple of those, and that's a little bit frustrating. But I felt overall we played as hard as we could play. I thought we just did a lot of good things. It just came down to missing shots.
Yeah, it was one thing you mentioned before the game is what we have to do is make shots. And how frustrating is that when you run a good offensive play and then you miss a 12-footer or you miss a good shot or you miss a layup or whatever? I know that's got to be frustrating a little bit because it's frustrating to the girls to run good offense and then miss a shot.
Yeah, and initially we didn't attack their defense. They play a 3-2 matchup, and that's all they play. And they're really good at it. They're really good in their coverage. They're really good in their rotations. And sometimes we were trying to attack and get all the way into the second defender, and they're big, they're like 6'1" and 6'3", and our 5'8" guards were really attacking too deep instead of just getting into that opening where you had space and pull up and shoot clean shots. And so some of it was based on us not really running, getting a flow in our offense, and some of it was just missing wide open shots.
And I think on both sides, kind of got mucked up in the paint a little bit as both teams really played well defensively, and yet you didn't have a whole lot of three-pointers. I mean, they shot only 3, and you've had these 20 and 24 three-point games that you've had shooting-wise. You had only 12.
Yeah, that's been the heart of our team, is our ability to make threes, and we went 3 for 12 in this game, and there were several and one of those was Shug's, shot at the buzzer, right, basically. So that's one of our 3 makes, and so a team that your best ammo is your 3-point shooting. When you're not making threes, then you don't have a lot left over because we didn't get a lot of scoring out of our post players again, but that's not who we are, and we've got to be able to getting a better flow offensively in order to make shots.
Competitive game for sure, and you had a 3-point lead in the fourth quarter, and then you stopped making shots. I think you mentioned that you missed 10 in a row, right?
Yeah, we were up 3 with 7:13 to play. Shug hits a free throw, has an and 1 opportunity, makes the free throw. We're up 3, and then we proceed to miss 10 shots in a row, and in that spurt we have 3 or 4 turnovers. And we don't score a field goal again until really 5 seconds left in the game. Lex hits a 3. But going 0 for 10 in that spurt, and we did hit, I think, 4 out of 4 or 6 out of 6 free throws, which helped. but we just couldn't make a field goal, and we turned the ball over at crucial times.
And again, Shug Dixon led the way with 23 points, and we had mentioned this, of course, on the radio show and even probably on the TV show as well. You had the midweek bye, so academically you were able to kind of get everything in order and maybe take a deep breath. It's unfortunate you lose that game, and now you get back into the grind, right?
Yeah, it's the meat of our schedule now with South Florida coming up, number 2 team in our conference, receiving votes in the top 25. Then we go on the road and play Temple, and that's always tough. So really some really tough games coming up.
In a moment, we'll talk about the week coming up for University of Tulsa women's basketball. That's when Coach's Corner continues in a minute.
Power is excitement, energy, an unrelenting spirit. Its success is realized on the court, and its passion is felt in the hearts of players, coaches, and fans. And it all comes together in a conference known as the American Power for Life.
We're back on Coach's Corner. The Hurricane on Wednesday will play host to USF. South Florida has perennially been one of the better teams in the league, a lot of times number 2 behind UConn, and they've been ranked in the top 25 most of the year. Coach, what do they bring to the table?
Well, they bring a lot of scoring. They're averaging about 76, 77 points a game. All 5 of their starters are averaging in double figures. They're just so efficient offensively, and they're big. You know, they're big enough that they can switch 1 through 5 almost, and so our guards we're going to have to put our guards in a position where we're creating space for them to get shots off because you know, they really block a lot of shots with their length.
And so again, a situation where driving the ball into that sort of the teeth of their defense probably won't be the best idea. You're going to just have to go inside out, I guess, huh?
Yeah, and that's the key. We've got to go, as much as we want to go inside, we've got to take that and go back outside. You know, they're a long defensive team. They can switch personnel. And what makes them really effective is they don't foul. They're just really solid defensively, and they use their length to stop you. They're not. You know, Central Florida is a real scrappy, get in your grill, reach for the ball, gamble. USF's not like that at all. They're just playing the gaps, get their hands out, and force you to make mistakes.
Suffice it to say, you're going to have to play some good defense then, obviously, to stay in that game, right?
Yeah, it's going to be tough slowing them down. Again, they're averaging 77 points a game, giving up 63 points a game. So people aren't scoring a lot against them. So the only way you have a chance to win is if you hold their scoring down.
And that'll be the midway point of the league season as Tulsa comes into that game at 2-6, and then you go on the road to Philadelphia and take on Temple. And again, as you mentioned, kind of into the grinder a little bit now.
Yeah, Temple is a perennial one of our top teams. They've struggled a little bit this year. They've had trouble with injuries. And Tanai Atkinson, those averaging about 23 points a game, and they've been really good at home. They're just really aggressive. They play hard. They're scrappy. You know, so we go from scrappy to get you with our length back to scrappy. So you know, it's harder to prepare when you go back when your next game is different than the game before.
Well, Coach, good luck. Have a great week. We'll see you Wednesday.
Okay, thank you.
We'll see you at the Reynolds Center Wednesday when the Hurricane taking on South Florida at 7 o'clock. That's it for Coach's Corner. For the coach, I'm Bruce Howard. So long for now.